Our school, Michael Nagar Shikha Niketan, government-sponsored co-ed English medium higher secondary, has taken an excellent initiative in conducting online classes through YouTube channel. Even in this pandemic situation, our school did not step aback in providing and enhancing knowledge to the students. So, it's a request to the viewers, please like, comment and subscribe.
Hello students, today I am going to continue with the chapter known as International Trade and Balance of Payments. Now I am going to start with the topic known as the equality in the balance of payments. Now according to the equality in the balance of payments, the balance of payment account is prepared when there is an equal balance between the debit items and the credit items on the balance of payments. Now according to the nature of the double entry system of accounting, the balance of payment calculation is done, and when the debit side is equal to the credit side, the balance of payment is said to be equal. Now the balance of payment is consisting of two sides, the debit and the credit side, and the transaction is made between a debtor and the creditor. Now according to the rules of the double entry system of accounting, what happens that whenever there is a decrease in asset and increase in liability, that is listed in the credit side of the account, and whenever there is an increase in asset or decrease in liability, that is listed in the debit side of the account. Now the balance of payment already consists of two accounts, one is the current account and another one is the capital account. Now there can be a deficit or surplus in both the current account as well as in the capital account as well. Now if there is a surplus in the current account, there can be a deficit in the capital account, and if there is a deficit in the capital account, there can be a surplus in the current account. So vice versa can happen. Now next we will learn about the equilibrium in the balance of payment account. Now it is actually not possible to say from any balance of payment account that whether the country is running through any type of deficit or surplus. So there exist mainly two types of transactions. So we are having two types of transactions known as autonomous transactions and the accommodating or induced transactions. Now in case of autonomous transactions, what happens, the decisions of the firm is autonomously taken by a single individual firm or the different units of different kinds of economic units of the firm. So a single firm do take the decisions regarding export and import of any type of commodities, or regarding the trade decisions, any type of individual firm do take the decisions regarding export or import or etc. Now what happens, in case of autonomous transactions, all the receipts made from that autonomous transaction are known as the autonomous receipts, and all the payments made from that autonomous transactions are mainly known as autonomous payment. Now next type of transaction is mainly known as accommodating or induced transactions. Now in case of accommodating transactions, what happens, in order to cope up with the situation which arises from the autonomous transactions, the accommodating transactions do take place. Now suppose due to an autonomous decisions of the firm, the country has to pay more rather than to receive. Now if the country has to pay more rather than to receive, then obviously a deficit will be created in that particular country. Now the deficit will be made from the gold reserve of the country, or it can be made from the foreign exchange of that country, or it can be kept as a loan. Now this type of transactions are mainly known as accommodating transactions. Now we can list out the credit and debit side of the autonomous and the accommodating transactions. Now you can see, so as to maintain the equilibrium in the balance of payments, we are having the two types of transactions mainly known as autonomous and accommodating transactions. Now we are also having the credit and debit side of that autonomous and the accommodating transactions. Now you can see in the credit side, we are all having the receipt which we are getting as the autonomous and accommodating receipts, and in the debit side we are having the autonomous and the accommodating payments. Now in case of autonomous receipts, you can see we are having the autonomous visible exports, visible and invisible exports. So the value of autonomous visible and invisible export is 700, and the value of autonomous transfer receipts is 100. Next is autonomous capital receipt is 200. Accommodating capital receipt is also 200. So the total receipt which has been listed in the credit side we are having as 1200. Next is debit part. Now autonomous payments has been subdivided into autonomous visible and invisible import, which is 700. Autonomous transfer payments is 200 and autonomous capital payment is 300. Accommodating capital payment is 0. So the total payment we are having as 1200. So these are the autonomous payment and the autonomous receipt. So we are having the debit and credit side part. So in this case we can see that the total receipt is 1200 and the total payment is also 1200. So the total receipt is obviously equal to the total payment. That means we can say that the balance of payment is in equilibrium. Since the debit side is equal to the credit side, that means that the balance of payment is in equilibrium. Now in case of autonomous payment, what happens whenever a firm do take a individual decision, that is if the firm export to any kind of abroad countries, or if that firm import from any type of foreign country, then what happens? It may increase the receipt or it may increase the payment depending on the value of export and the value of import. If export is greater than import, then what will happen? It will create a surplus or the receipt will be greater than the payment, and if import is greater than the export, then what will happen? Payment will be greater than the receipt. So in order to cope up with this situation, the accommodating transactions do take place. The work of the accommodating transactions is to cope up with the situation which arises from the autonomous transactions. So this is mainly the concept of equilibrium in the balance of payments, and which is arising out of the autonomous and accommodating transactions. I think it is clear to you. Next we will start with the methods of correcting deficit in the balance of payments. So when do a deficit arise in the balance of payments? Whenever import is greater than export, at that time deficit arises in the balance of payment. If there is import is greater than export, that is if payment is greater than receipt, at that time deficit always arises in the balance of payment. So how this deficit can be corrected in the balance of payments? So the first method to correct the deficit in the balance of payment is to expansion of exports. So if there is an expansion of exports in the foreign market, then there is a tendency to correct the deficit in the balance of payment. So if we increase the amount of export, so if the home country increases the amount of export in the foreign country, then there is obviously a chance to correct the deficit in the balance of payment. So now how this expansion of export is possible? This expansion of export is possible if there is an advertisement made in the foreign market, or if we do organize any type of trade fair in the foreign market, then there is a possibility of expanding the export in the foreign market. And the next possibility to expand the export in the foreign market is to follow the policy of devaluation. Now what is this policy of devaluation? Suppose $1 consists of ₹5. Now suppose if $1 consisting of ₹10. Now suppose first of all previously $1 was equal to ₹5 and now $1 has become ₹10. That means it has increased. The value of $1 has increased in the home market. So first of all, the value of $1 was ₹5, and at that time the value now the value of $1 is ₹10. That means the value of $1 is actually devalued in the home market. Now since the value of dollar is devalued, then in this way the expansion of export is actually possible. How this expansion of export is possible? Now suppose if the value of dollar has been devalued, that is, first of all we used to purchase $1 for rupees 5 and now we are purchasing $1 of rupees 10. So first of all the residents of the foreign country used to purchase an amount of rupees 5 and now they are purchasing an amount with $1 only, but the price has increased. They are giving us $1. They are giving the residents of the foreign country are giving us $1, but in return we are getting rupees 10. So first of all we used to get rupees 5, but now we are getting rupees 10. That means if we sell an amount of $2, first of all we used to get rupees 10 and now we are getting rupees 20. So that means in this way through an expansion of export, the deficit in the current account or the deficit in the current account or the deficit in the balance of payment can be corrected. So this is the policy of devaluation. So whenever the value of dollar is increasing, the exports are becoming very much cheaper to us and the cheaper to the foreign countries also. So in this way they are just promoting the export. They are just promoting our export. So in this way, when they are promoting our export, we can expand our export in the foreign market. So if we can expand our export in the foreign market, then it is possible for us to correct the deficit in the balance of payments. Now next measure to control the deficit in the balance of payment is control of imports. Now in order to correct the deficit is to control of imports. Now how the imports can be controlled? The imports can be controlled through this following ways. The first way is to control the import duties by imposing the import duties or tariffs. Now by imposing the import duties or tariffs, what will happen? The amount which we used to pay for import previously, now it has been risen up. That means imports are getting very much expensive. After imposition of this import duties or tariffs, the imports will become very much expensive for the residents of the home country. So in this way they will discourage the amount of import and they will prefer the home produced goods or the import substituting goods, which is actually produced by the residents of the home country only. So in this way by imposing the import duties or tariffs, the import can be controlled. Next is import quotas. Now import quotas do restrict the physical quantity of import. By restricting the physical quantity of import, the imports can be controlled. Now import quota, what they do? They actually restrict the amount of import, that is beyond a certain limit the import cannot be promoted. Import cannot be allowed beyond a certain limit. Beyond a certain limit, what we can do? Imports are actually not permitted beyond a certain limit. So in this way, by imposing the import quotas, import can be controlled. Next is by fiscal policy. Fiscal policy means government policy. Now if government imposes a huge amount of tax or it decreases the expenditure, then by imposing the fiscal policy, the imports will be discouraged. If there is a huge amount of tax which is actually imposed on the amount of import items, then imports will be discouraged, and in this way imports can also be controlled. Next is deflation. Now due to deflation, what happens? The national income will fall. If there is a deflation in the economy, the national income will fall, and if there is a fall in the national income, then it will be not possible for the residents of the home country to purchase from abroad, because the imported goods will be very much expensive to them. So in this way, through the policy of deflation, imports can be controlled. Next is, there are some import control measures, that is by increasing by imposing the foreign exchange reserves. There are some import control measures, that if the foreign exchange reserves have to be there, if there is any kind of law which is imposed that the foreign exchange reserves have to be submitted with the government only, and if anybody wants to demand that foreign exchange reserve, then he or she have to pay for that amount. Then in that way, what will happen? The import will be controlled in a great way. Now controlling the rate of exchange. In what way the rate of exchange can be controlled? The rate of exchange. Now again this policy of devaluation do follow in controlling the rate of exchange. So when now previously $1 used to consist of 5 rupees. Now $1 is consisting of 10 rupees. Now in this case after devaluation the value of $1 has become rupees 10. So the residents of the home country has to pay more in order to get the imported goods. The foreigners and the residents of the foreign country are selling it for $1, but the residents of the home country has previously they used to pay rupees 5, but now they have to pay rupees 10 in order to get the imported goods. That means imports are becoming very much expensive to the residents of the home country. So in this way, through the import control by controlling the rate of exchange, that is by imposing the import control measures, the deficit in the balance of payments can be corrected. In this way, by controlling the rate of exchange, the imports can be controlled. So these are the measures of correcting the deficit in the balance of payments. So today up to this much, just go through your books. In the next part I will just continue with this chapter. Just go through your books, I think it will be clear to you.
Subscribe. Click on the bell. Like, comment, share.